Hey, this is Jessica at Wandering Tent, and today Juliette and I are going to make some bread. So what I have here is a recipe for traditional white bread. You need 6 to 7 cups of all-purpose flour, 3 tablespoons of sugar, but I am going to substitute the sugar for just honey, 1 tablespoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of shortening, which I'm going to substitute with coconut oil, and 2 packages of regular or quick dry yeast, or 4.5 tablespoons. So I've got this, and then water. So we're going to get started. Okay, so first we're going to mix 3.5 cups of flour, sugar, salt, shortening, which we're replacing with the coconut oil, and yeast into a large bowl. We're using a plastic bowl today, but I usually will sometimes use a ceramic bowl. You're not supposed to use a metal bowl. I don't know if that interacts with the yeast rising or not. I've used a metal bowl and I've not had a problem before, but I generally use a plastic bowl or a ceramic bowl. I'm using white flour today, but I've taken the same recipe and varied it before. I've used wheat flour. I've tried different types of flour, and you know, I don't know if using the honey changes the taste at all, but kind of makes me feel better. The same thing with the coconut oil. I feel like I'm doing something better when I'm using it instead of the shortening, although I don't know that that's really true. What are you looking for? Measuring spoons? Yeah, I pulled it out already. 3 tablespoons of honey? Yeah. You might want to do the salt first, because it's kind of hard to get the honey out of the spoon. 1 tablespoon of salt all the way to the top. And then 2 tablespoons of shortening, so you probably want to do that next. And I usually, once I get to mixing, I usually mix it with just a fork or a spoon.
You do have a mixer though.
Yeah, but the regular mixer, this is too thick for. You wouldn't be able to do it with just a hand mixer. You need like a KitchenAid with a dough attachment. We don't have that, so I've just always made this recipe without. I've just done it with a spoon. It's funny, I always was intimidated by making bread, and I think it's just because of the yeast, but it's really very simple, and the more that you do it, the more you get used to the way that the yeast is supposed to feel, or the bread is supposed to feel as you're kneading it. I think the recipe calls for you to knead it for 10 minutes. Bless you, it's fine. You can put it on top of that. I actually made all of our own bread for 2 solid years. And you want to fill it all the way to the top? It's just, okay, gotcha. And then I got incredibly burned out on it, and now I just kind of make bread sporadically. And it kind of just boils down to, I was really just trying to start cooking from scratch, and I had read about all the things that they put in store-bought bread, but honestly, for convenience, we kind of reverted back to that. And the homemade bread is kind of just a sporadic treat these days. Although, I don't know if I could get my family on board with doing homemade bread again, because for sandwiches, this bread is so dense, and I guess I could probably play with it a little bit to make it a little bit more airy.
That came right out.
It did because of the oil. Okay, I was just giving you that to help you. So now we're gonna mix it.
It's kind of crumbly when you put it on sandwiches and stuff.
Yeah, it is crumbly. It's good for, really good for toast.
Yeah.
Can you get it? There you go. You can use this, or you can use the packages of yeast. There was just more in this one, so I bought this one. And so now we're going to mix those ingredients together. So Juliette's mixed those those dry ingredients up. And now I'm going to get her, we need 2¼ cups of very warm water. That helps for the yeast to rise. There's 2. You can go ahead and pour that in.
That's only a little warm.
Yeah, but it wouldn't get any warmer than that. It'll still be fine.
How much do you need?
2¼ So I'm going to get you a little bit more after that. Our dishwasher's going, so I don't think the water wanted to get any warmer.
I tried to mix the honey in with it.
Okay, go ahead and pour that in. And then we're going to start mixing in the other 3 to 3½ cups of flour into that. Bless you. Do you want me to pour it in for you?
You want to pour in Easter?
You want to pour and I'll stir? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets kind of tough as it gets thicker. Yeah, let me get some. You kind of get a feel for how the dough feels as to how much flour you need to add to it, and I kind of keep it in the bowl as long as I can, because if you try to handle it this squishy, it's a mess. And if you've got your engagement ring on, definitely take it off, because that dough will be all in your ring. I just have my wedding band on, so it's not that big of a deal. Okay, Juliette, why don't you go ahead and fill that last cup. And I'm not going to put the whole thing in. I'm going to start kind of, why don't you put can you get it filled? If you can't, there's more flour in that bag.
Thank you.
It's fine. Here, just put a little bit in my hand, like half of the cup. Ooh, that's fine. This can be really messy. So then I just start kind of folding it in when it gets to the point where I can't manage it anymore in the bowl, I'll take it out. But you can dust your countertop with flour to knead it. Like I said, the recipe says to knead it for about 10 minutes. I've also noticed that the cleanup can be a lot easier if you just take like some olive oil on your counter. Let me move this stuff over real quick, Juliette. If you put some olive oil on your counter, it makes it a little bit easier to clean up later on. And obviously I've cleaned my counter up real good before we started this. Or you can just lightly dust it with flour. I think that's probably what the recipe says to do. Juliette enjoys this part, so I'm going to let her have at it. She usually just plays with it. And I don't even know that we really need to add any more flour. But if you have sticky places like this right here, like that needs more flour. It's too sticky. The consistency, you should be able to like put your hand on it and it not be too terribly sticky. So I just continue adding flour. You see how it's sticking to the countertop a little bit, so it probably needs a little bit more flour. And you can either add it on the countertop or you can put it right onto the bread. So I'm going to let Juliette take over the kneading. I'm going to clean out our bowl while you're doing that.
Is this hot?
No, it's still going. So when I used to make our bread, I would, a lot of times I do like 6 loaves at a time. This batch that we have here will do 2 loaves. I'm just cleaning up our, I'm cleaning our bowl so we'll have somewhere to put it to rest and rise. So essentially what you do is you'll knead it for 10 minutes and then you'll put it in a bowl covered. This book says that you can do saran wrap, plastic wrap. I just usually cover it with a dishcloth, a dish towel. And then it needs to rise. What does this recipe say? You're going to cover the bowl loosely and let it rise in a warm place for 40 to 60 minutes until double. And so once it's double, we'll divide it into the loaf pans, and then we'll let it rise again. Okay, so Juliette's played with the dough for a while. Let me see it. Well, it's kind of hard to, you kind of just get used to the texture where where it's right, whether you need to add more flour. And of course, if you've added too much flour, then it's probably too late. But I'm touching it and it's not like sticky dough like it was before. So what we're going to do is we're going to put it, I oiled this bowl with just some olive oil. And I usually just do this. And will you get me that dish towel in there? I'm not going to clean up my countertop yet because we'll be breaking this in half to put in loaf pans. So we're just going to cover it. And I'm going to carry it over here to the stove where it's a little bit warmer. And we're going to let it rise for about 40 minutes. And then we've got soup warming up. Leftovers for dinner today. Here is our bread. It's been actually more than 40 minutes. Doubled in size. So what I usually do is I just hit it in the middle, and then I'm actually gonna do this, Juliette, so you can just see. I hope your hands are clean.
I just washed them.
Good. So I just usually go in the middle, and a lot of times I don't even roll it out on the counter just because I don't want to deal with the cleanup. So I've got my bread pans here. I sprayed them with cooking spray, and that's pretty much all there is to it. Now, used to be I would put it on the counter and kind of roll it. Watch out, Juliette. I don't know that there's a right or wrong answer. So then now you're going to let it rise again. Let me look at how long you're supposed to actually do it. 35 to 50 minutes or until double. So we're going to let it rise again. Here are our loaves after resting or rising for 30 minutes. I probably should have done a better job with this one because it's a little misshapen, but it'll still taste good. If I was really concerned about the way it looked, I could redo it and then let it rise again, but I don't really care what it looks like. So this is going to bake for 425, at 425 for 25 to 30 minutes. Here we are. Okay, Juliette. You sure you got it?
Yeah.
Okay, there we are, fresh baked bread. We're gonna take these out of the loaf pans and we're gonna put them on a baking rack. We hoped you enjoyed watching us bake bread, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Hi.
The finished product.